Definitely not tomorrow.
It's Chinese New Year.
Chinese New Year is quite the event at the Mack household, so let's break down Andy Mack Season 2, Episode 2, right here on What Happened. How's it going, y'all, and welcome back to another episode of my recap show. In this episode of Andy Mack, we get a little insight into why Cece always wants everything so perfect, Bowie gets his poor heart broken, and the episode ends off with another cliffhanger, so let's get it started. The B-plot of this episode brings back one of my favorite characters, Marty, which means the return of Muffy. That's right, Marty and Buffy go head-to-head yet again in another competition. Time for the kids to sign up at school for sports team tryouts and clubs, and Marty is signing up for basketball since track is over. When Buffy says she likes basketball, Marty just suggests that she try out for the pep squad because there's no girls team, but come on, Marty, have you ever met Buffy? That is not going to stop her.
Then I guess I have no choice. You are witnessing history. The first girl on the Jefferson Middle School basketball team.
When Buffy and Cyrus are practicing in the gym, well, more like Buffy's practicing, because let's take a look at how Cyrus tries to play basketball and make a basket.
Stop, drop, and roll.
Marty then shows up and challenges Buffy to a game, and of course, Buffy is her usual self and goes all out. When they're done, Marty asks her if she's familiar with the concept of team player because, you know, basketball is a team sport. And it's like, oh, Marty, I thought you would have learned how Buffy is from the whole track fiasco. Yeah, she's better at solo sports. We already learned that. Well, it turns out that Buffy is just playing extra hard because she's nervous to try out for the boys team because she knows she can't just be as good as the boys. She has to be better. And Cyrus, being the good friend that he is, gives her some encouragement.
Can I tell you a secret?
What?
You're gonna make the team.
Now, we actually don't get a ton of Cyrus in this episode, which is interesting, especially considering the big stuff that happened in the last episode. But it does look like they'll pick up with his storyline, figuring out his feelings for different people in the next episode. Moving on to the main storyline of this episode. It picks up where the last one left off, with Bex telling Andy she can't marry Bowie, and Andy still trying to tell Bex what her answer should actually be. Bex reveals she needed more time in giving Bowie a response, not because she didn't want to tell him, but because she didn't want to tell Andy, since Andy had her hopes so high. Bex plans to tell Bowie the next day her answer, but Andy reminds Bex that the next day is Chinese New Year, so they may have to put it off for another day. The next day, Buffy and Andy are hanging out, and Bex interrupts, saying someone is at the door. It's Jonah, who's there to return Andy's phone that she left at school. Jonah still makes Andy so flustered that she ends up inviting him to Chinese New Year, and then looks to Bex and Buffy to help her fix that mistake, but neither are gonna help, and Jonah seems excited to go, so he heads home to change.
What did I just do?
Invited the boy you like into the belly of the beast.
Over at the Mack house, Bowie and Ham are busy cooking, and we get to see that happy Cece still exists from the last episode. In fact, she's so happy and taken with Bowie that she tells him he's always welcome in their home, and hints that if Bowie ever wanted to marry Bex, that she'd be okay with it. And Bowie says they might have some news to share soon. Well, Cece might actually really like Bowie, but it also seems like she just wants to use Bowie being back in their lives to shove in her sister May's face. And let's just say, when Aunt May and her son Ronald come over for Chinese New Year, it's a doozy. Aunt May is that type to kind of rub it in her sister's face about how much better her family is and how everything she does is perfect, which of course rubs Cece the wrong way all the time, and it's kind of why Cece is always trying to outdo May and portray her family as perfect. Before May arrives, Jonah shows up, and Cece just has so much on her mind that she can't turn him away, so she just tells the girls to fix him up. When May thinks Bowie is the caterer, Cece reveals that he's actually Andy's father and starts bragging about him. Cece then runs to Bex, saying she's really close to beating May this year, but she needs a topper, something to throw it over the edge. Maybe something like an engagement announcement, which freaks Bex out and she retreats. As the family start their prayers to the shrine of their ancestors, Jonah's so hungry he ends up taking a dumpling that's meant as an offering for the ancestors and gets called out because he didn't know any better, and Andy didn't have time to fill him in on the traditions of Chinese New Year. That's when things really start to go downhill fast, as May assumes Jonah's Andy's boyfriend, to which Cece says Andy's not allowed to have a boyfriend, and then May makes a pretty crude crack at Bex and Bowie. Later, when May and Cece are passing out gifts to the kids, Cece gives Bowie $300 and asks him if he has an announcement to make, and Bowie is about to reveal the engagement when Andy and Bex both kind of give him that signal that's like, no, don't do it, it's off. This forces Bex and Bowie to finally have their talk, and Bex says that Andy is their bond and they'll always be a family, but they just shouldn't get married for Andy for the sake of her. Well, Bowie actually is truly heartbroken because he really does love Bex and wanted to get married. He ends up giving the money back and leaves with Andy running after him. He tells Andy he's not okay, but he will be, and then he asks her the dad question if Jonah's the guy that she likes. The Chinese New Year chaos is now over, and Jonah actually is happy that he came and tells Andy, you know what, you should see my family at Easter. It's also pretty cute that Jonah is attempting to kind of learn more about the family by trying to speak in Chinese, even if it's the wrong dialect. Cece is just happy to get May out of her house and finally stands up to her sister, giving back that awful cuckoo clock they hang up once a year. Back at Bex and Andy's place, Andy's still hungry because there was so much going on at Chinese New Year that she didn't eat much. She finds a box of toaster tarts in the nightstand, and she thinks she's getting a secret stash because, of course, if you're gonna hide food, hide it by your bed for the midnight munchies. Well, as she pulls the box out, Bex tells her, stop, don't. So what is Bex trying to hide? Well, Andy pulls out that box and there are no toaster tarts in it. Instead, there's a picture that we've seen before. Remember when Andy went snooping in season 1 and found a picture of a guy and Bex ripped it up saying it was nobody? Well, it turns out that nobody is a somebody because Bex took that picture out of the trash, taped it back together, and she hides it in the toaster tart box in her nightstand. Andy asks Bex if this guy is the reason Bex couldn't marry Bowie, and then, of course, as always, the episode ends. So it looks like we have another guy coming into play for Bex, which I'm kind of excited about, but also not because I do like Bowie, and it's so soon after she dumped Bowie, right? So who is this new mystery man? It will definitely be an interesting storyline moving forward, and a more dramatic one, along with Cyrus's season 2 storyline about his sexuality. Now let's see what's in store for the next episode.
I have feelings.
I'm sure you do. I've just never seen them.
You just have to get to know me better.
I have to.
You really think you're gonna make the boys' basketball team?
That was a foul.
This is a drill. There aren't any fouls in a drill.
Can I watch it from here? I feel safer, like you're protecting me.
Jonah says she wants to be friends. Jonah just wants everything to be docious magocious.
Wait, Amber and Andy being friends. You know what? I'm actually okay with this storyline. Like, I'd like to see a different side of Amber. Her actual self, not the kind of mask that she's put up to hide her insecurities, like her tough, mean girl act. Of course, that would make things a little awkward for Jonah though, right? Even though it seems like he's actually the one who suggests that they be friends. Overall though, this was a fun episode, and it was really cool to see something like this on Disney Channel showing different cultures. Now, I'm not actually Chinese, but seeing Asian cultures represented on TV is something that I didn't have growing up, so that's one of the reasons that I am really into Andy Mack. So kudos to them for focusing on, you know, culture a little bit on the show. My favorite part of the episode though probably has to be Cyrus and his comic relief.
Go ahead, take a shot.
I don't like those shorts.
I meant a basketball shot.
I don't like those basketball shorts. Oh, good. Are we done basketballing? Please say yes.
Later, girl, brah.
That didn't sound right.
Alright, so that wraps up this recap of Andy Mack. Hit the comments down below and let me know what you think about Marty and Buffy and their storyline, and who you think the mystery man in Bex's photo is. Also, what do you want to see happen the rest of the season? After that, you can click right over here for my recent interviews with Hayden Byerly, all about the new episodes of The Fosters, or with Carson Leaders and his adorable new puppy Louie. I'm Lisa, thanks so much for hanging out with me, and I'll see you soon.